and Blake, author of the Ancient Illumination series and the Umbani Chronicles. And I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
He's the creator of Eve of Insurrection, Eve of Reclamation, his own comic, as well as the graphic artist and illustrator on the Ancient Illumination graphic novels and the Umbani Chronicles comics coming out soon. He also did Jericho's Bane, the adaptation for that in comics by Errol J. Knight. We are back once again talking Willow. So, spoiler alert if you have not watched the second episode, The High Aldwin. As we discussed last week, this is a continuation from the 1988 film. We have not many, but a few of the actors from the 88 film are returning back for this series. I'm not sure if Val Kilmer will be coming back as Matt Mortigan, mainly because he's been dealing with health issues. But we're mainly just going to be going through the story plot lines of the second episode. I'm still liking the series so far. So it's okay. I'm liking it, but it's not.
Liking it? Come on, Ryan. You like this?
I'm not having a bad time, is what I'm saying with it. Some of it's kind of face palmy, cringy, whatever you want to say it, because they're getting really
face palmy. What about his face palmy?
Well, it's getting really tropey with the old master trying to teach someone, take someone under their wing and teach them, is kind of tropey, but that's to be expected. It's a fantasy show, and that's kind of par for the course when you deal with something like this. But in this episode, Willow, we get some answers to some of our questions that we had last week about what happened to the Nelwyn's little village, because when we first see them, it's all gone. And I guess we see that they've gone underground.
Yep.
Which is another kind of callback to the film, because I don't know if you remember the other Nelwyn that threatened him. He was trying to buy the land that Willow's home and farm were on, because he hadn't been able to produce crops in some time or whatever. And there's apparently mines below ground that basically he was threatening him, dude, I'm gonna buy this land because you can't produce no crops, and then you're gonna work for me in the mines. So I'm making an assumption here. I'm assuming that where he takes them is the mines that the other no one was speaking of, underground beneath the village, which would have more protection for them, seeing as they're outside of that magical barrier that Sorsha and the sorceress put up. So Willow takes the crew to his underground village, which was kind of cool. We get to see his daughter all grown up, and I was a little disappointed that we don't see Kaya, but I'm assuming that perhaps the actress that played Kaya back in the day has passed or wasn't available. I don't know, but we don't see.
The son wasn't there.
Yeah, son wasn't there, and the wife wasn't there, because that was a heartfelt. We were all wondering, what happened to that that reunion, that sweet reunion we got back in the day.
Just got memes.
Yeah,
just got memes.
Where'd all those people go? We get a flashback, and it took me a second to realize. Did you realize it was a flashback when you see Willow with the braided goatee?
Oh yeah. He looked a little de-aged, and he was talking to younger Allura, being weird.
No. Before that, you see him and Sorsha though, sitting at the table in the castle, and they're talking. And I mean, the disrespect, boy. Sorsha just comes at him you ain't finna do nothing. You're not basically you're one of the bravest people I know, but what you are not is a great sorcerer. Basically,
no, you are not.
She basically told Willow to sit herself down somewhere.
Yeah.
And don't be worried about, teaching Allura about magic. Did you have the same questions I did about that? Because I was always wondering why Allura Dannon seemed to know more as a baby than she knows now. Willow kind of explains it, if you don't nurture this ability, it'll go away everything else. But that doesn't necessarily explain why the memories is gone. If this magical being.
She should have that. See, talking about plot holes, she should have recognized him, because she saw him as she clearly was probably 4 or 5, and it was kind of ridiculous that okay, you met this person, but you don't remember them or you have no recollection, no even inkling of like a connection to that person. I thought it was, although she did see him one time, it was like, come on now.
I mean, that's believable though. That part is believable. My thing is the cognizance that she had as an infant, if we're to believe the lore of what happened, the fairy godmother that the brownies bring the infant to is having this one side in the movie I'm talking about, 1988,
Oh yeah,
having this nonverbal conversation, because they're obviously talking back and forth. I'm thinking telepathically, but you only hear obviously the fairy. You don't hear Laura because she can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
But she explains that Elora basically chose Willow to be her guardian when they're sitting there in the forest when he's reunited with her. But now, as an adult, all that recollection there is gone. Under normal circumstances, though, her being 5 and talking to Willow one or two times and getting stranger danger feeling and running away.
He stranger dangered him hard.
That was kind of creepy because he was like, my daughter would like you.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
All the people would like you. Like that was like a
people like me.
Like, yeah, I'm about to take you back home to my place. And I was like, what did you expect was going to happen out of that interaction? What did you expect? And then, of course, he gets disrespected again at that point. When then he basically has to take his ball and go home. And Sorcerer's like, what are you going to do? Your pig trick? You're missing pig trick? Like, get up out of here. Kid, you bothered me. That's basically the treatment he got.
He was disrespecting him hard. I was like, dang, this is messed up.
You sound a little disheartened with it because when I said I was still enjoying it, you were in disbelief. What's your issue?
So for me, I'm very particular about my chosen one stories, the chosen one archetype.
Okay.
And so this episode really just hammered down on, all right, Allura, you got to learn. You have to begin to train and like learn her craft, learn her magical, find her innate abilities. Yeah. And that annoys me from like if you put on your critical race theory hat, it's kind of like frustrating when you have like all these people of color around her trying to reinforce to her that she is great, she's the chosen one, and I'm like, ugh, this is like the kind of I wonder if we can reference Ray. No, we could reference Ray, I guess, but like
there's a lot of
these OP white girls.
Well, not that, but the Last Jedi and this have a lot of references. But you get to a point where, similar to how they portrayed Luke Skywalker, Willow has now become at the end of this episode or towards the middle, he kind of becomes disillusioned.
I can't wait till we get to the last part of the episode. Sorry, you got me excited.
Yeah. No, that's not. I'm talking about throughout the episode, he becomes disillusioned, similar to how Luke has been disillusioned. But yeah, she doesn't believe. Allura doesn't believe who she is.
And I'm just like, this again. I'm like, can we just get through? Can we just hurry up through this part? Like, I'm like, I'm tired of looking at this. I know she's eventually gonna learn it. We know this.
Yeah.
But it's like we gotta watch Graydon give her encouragement. It's hilarious. Kit had me dying laughing actually, because she's still in disbelief of like who she actually is, and like it's hilarious. She's an ass. But it was in that moment where I was like, oh, this is comical. This part right here is comical. Like, that's funny. But so yeah, I'm just wanting this to move along, these tropes. But outside that, I think it was nice to see kind of like where all of Willow and his people were. We got some developments with our boy with the infection.
Yeah, that comes a little later. With the Nelwyn was cool. The parallels between seeing Willow as now the High Aldwin, which was a character we saw in the film, and now he's got the little pointy hat. They have to bring him in on this little carriage thing, and he complains like, I'm not that heavy, because one dude was talking about his back was hurting when they bring him in to have this celebratory dinner in honor of Allura. which remember as a baby they were all afraid of her and superstitious. Now she's like the celebratory person that everybody's praising as she comes in. She has no clue what's going on at all. Kit's pissed off because she's like, I don't feel like learning about Nelwyn culture right now. We need to go find my brother.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah. So, and then we have somebody from the crowd screaming about the finger test, which remember
Yes,
Willow,
the finger test. I'm like,
and which really isn't a test at all. And Willow's trying to cheat and give her the answer. She still's not getting it and does the wrong thing. It's all hilarious to me. And eventually he obviously has to accept the fact that he has to go out once again, similar to the film. And yeah, Sorsha decides to send Commander Ballantine out, which you and I, everybody watching those from episode 1, that infection that when he gets stabbed with that little glowing staff, something was gonna happen. And like Andrea mentioned, he'd be the type, to get bit by a zombie and not admit till it's too late. And sure enough, he turns mid-journey. Not even, he turns before they leave.
Yeah, he starts. Yeah, the guy that enchanted him starts working the magic in some cave somewhere.
Yeah,
when it started happening, I was like,
yeah,
oh.
that was kind of an allusion, kind of to Lord of the Rings, another kind of callback to Lord of the Rings to me, because Sauron is like some disembodied voice, and I feel like the sorceress is the disembodied voice that's calling to this creature that's, I think she may be the withered crone. Or there are some theories that the old sorceress that actually was on their side may be the withered crone now. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But yeah, Sorsha sends the wrong person out, now that she knows that Elora Danan is missing, to go get her. And the funniest part of this show, what's up, Gino?
Hey,
The funniest part of this show was Willow kind of figuring out his own stuff. Like, he was having just as hard of a time, if not worse, than Elora Danan was. When he was trying to figure out the spell to transform the sorceress back into her human form, he couldn't get the pronunciation right, and now he is harping on her because she can't pronounce the words. That was one of the funniest parts of the show to me in this episode, with everybody.
Best part.
Yeah, and Borman's like, it sounds like she's getting further away from where she's supposed to. Like, she just can't get it. But it's all par for the course to me with the fantasy shows, and sometimes with the sci-fi stuff. It's going to have this trope of this old wizened master, which I'm not even sure he's fully embraced that himself.
No, he's not.
Which is, I think,
it's part. He gives me washed, sort of. I almost became a wise old master, but I'm not there. Still not there yet. Like, he's not even in that. But it's still room to kind of like still make the storytelling, like, to make it interesting and like unique. And maybe for them it was their comedy, and that's why like the scenes where like she's trying to pronounce a word, it was actually like that part was fun, because it was just it was comical. It was done well. But once we get in that, once we move out of that, I feel like it's not the story is not really connecting or unique or engaging. So I'm just like, all right, speed it on up here. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to my man's transforming.
Yeah, I think Borman's gonna go with the wins. He's just gonna go wherever. Jade is there just for duty's sake. Kit's only there for her brother, but she really wants to get moving, kind of like you're feeling like, let's move this along. We're wasting time.
We're wasting time.
I don't understand what Graydon's whole angle is here. He's betrothed to Kit, but he seems like he's catching feelings for Laura, kind of. I don't know if that's just me reading too much into things, but what did you think? That's what it seems like to me. You still there, Jordan? You're frozen. But yeah, that's what it seems like to me, that he's kind of catching feelings for her. He keeps trying to have conversations with her. He goes purposely to be alone with her at times. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what his deal is here. Hopefully Jordan will come back in a second here. He's still frozen. He's just looking at me all crazy on my screen. Not sure what you all out there are seeing. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back to discuss how this episode ends. Hopefully by then Jordan will be back. We'll be back in a second.
Back.
Welcome back to the second half of the Askari cast. My name is Rodman Blake, and I am joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Anyway. Technical difficulties, everybody. We're back in business. He must have went out. Yeah, well, I'm back, y'all. Back.
And we're continuing our discussion on Willow episode 2, The High Aldwin. And sent the wrong man to search for Laura Dannon. Commander Ballantine obviously has the zombie juice running through his veins because we see it coursing through his hand every time. They always have to zoom in and show like the black blood going through his hand. Even Sorsha mentioned something. She's like, "Are you okay? Something's wrong with your shoulder. The wound hasn't healed." He's like, "'Tis but a flesh wound. It's a scratch, and it's nothing." But we all know it's something.
Mm-hmm.
I found it real funny when the brother that's with him, "Hey, Commander, what's gotten into you?" And he turns his back to him. He's like, "Found some purpose."
Starts turning to weird wolf voice. Starts running really fast. Superhuman strength tackles him. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that was crazy. Of course, he turns in, but were there more than one person that went with him? Because they
I
must have.
thought it was 3 people.
Yeah, so they must have turned him too. Because like I think the odd man out wouldn't have been like, hey, what's wrong with y'all? Why y'all acting like that?
I would have left. I would have got on out of there. Like, we gotta get out of
Your brother's looking kind of ashy, man. You need some lotion?
here.
You got some Gold Bond cream over here if you need it, man. He don't look too good because he looked crazy. His eyes were all bloodshot red, and his skin looked crazy when he turned around. And now there's two of them. So yeah, the third one had to get turned. They just must have done that off camera. And now they're hot on the tail of the band of misfits that have gone off on this mission. They go back to the Nelwyn village, Commander Valentine and them, and they find the Nelwyns waiting there with the daughter, who's taking like some leadership position because she's. I'm thinking we're gonna see them in action soon. I've seen her with her bow and a quiver of arrows on her head, but we don't see them actually fighting or doing anything yet. But we know it's coming. And of course, they're all going to be quiet first, and then she has to stick. Why did she stick her head out? Why did
You're like, you're really going to talk to him? Like, this is going to help? You're going to throw him off?
And he tries to name drop. I'm the commander from such and such. Like, yeah, they went this way. They went this way, and try and misdirect them. But of course, the
brother was like, the track's gone west.
Yeah, the wagon tracks have gone west, and the group is still having problems because they feel like they're wasting time. Elora's not getting the spell to make this plant grow so she can make some jam.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Damn. Homeboy said something about I want that jam and some butter and something else.
Yeah, he's got the recipe already before the plant's even planted, Yeah, but this is gonna, when, of course, Kit's like, okay, that's cool and all, but when are we gonna have some battle spells going on, some battle mage training? When's that gonna happen? And Willow's like, in weeks. I said, oh, in a few weeks. Oh, great. Like, she's like, we ain't got weeks to wait.
Gotta get my brother.
They get my brother. We got to get this cracking now. It was funny how Laura, her reaction. She's like, yeah, battle mage stuff. That sounds fun. Can we start with that? And he's like, no.
You ain't there yet.
Well, we kind of didn't get to. You didn't get a chance to answer when I asked you. What's Graydon? What do you think Graydon's deal is? Because he seems to be kind of falling.
Oh yeah.
You
think he's falling for? I was like, nah. Just like I was saying, I think he just wants her to be. I think he wants her to get along with this mission and just like step into her power. I feel like he's being that like support character of friend, but he knows that's Eric's girl anyway. He doesn't even have a chance. He don't got a chance.
Okay. I still think it's weird how he kind of puts himself in situations. Like, she went off to be alone to kind of learn the spell on her own, and then he interjects and he's like, "I need help reading. I can help with that."
Right. Like, he knows how to. He's like a master linguist and knows how to read magic.
Like, yeah, dude.
Like, wait, that's your purpose? Like that. When he said that, I was like, oh, so this is how you function well in the story. You become used to the main character, a plot device.
I mean, but what's Willow's use then? If he just gave him the book, set them on the mission. Willow ain't got a low, go. They got longer legs. They can probably move faster. He could just teach her the spells on the way. And then we're constantly being fed this premonition, apparently, that Willow has in his sleep, which is odd because we see in this show certain times Sorsha listens to Willow because of the dream, but a vast majority of the time she disregards much of what he says. Like, I have a feeling that he'll be searching for you. When she sends them off on the mission, you'll need the help of a great sorcerer. But we see in the flashback, she told my man he wasn't no sorcerer. But then you send your daughter, her betrothed, Jade, all these people and Borman off on this mission to go find Willow and then to go beyond the barrier. So which is it? Does Sorsha believe or does she not believe? Or did she have a change of heart that we didn't see?
A lot of inconsistencies here.
A lot of inconsistencies. And is it only because her son got taken that suddenly she's ready to cast in? And
Which would make sense. Which I would believe that more of a logic, like your mother trying to get your son back. Cool.
Yeah. That's a reason to kind of throw in with him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you want to risk your other daughter, yeah, send her on it because she wants to be a whole like knight and princess at the same time. So.
And then we find out that Borman is the squire that went along with Mad Mortigan, and I would say 9 moons ago. I don't know. That's supposed to be 9 months.
9 years.
There was that 9 years. He went on some mission to find this special magic cuirass, and Kit finds out and ends up chatting up Boardman about it. She comes up to him real creepy, like in the middle of the night, like he's sleeping. He wakes up, and she's like in his face, like, so you know, the kids do that. Kids, you be sleeping, and you wake up, and the kid's forehead will be right here, and you're like,
what are you doing over here? What do you want?
He reaches out, and she's like, I want you to tell me everything about my father, about this cuirass. And he says he found it. You know, Matt Mortigan found it. So it's a lot, kind of these little tidbits they're throwing in here, which I don't know how pertinent they're going to be to the main story or not.
I don't know.
Which, like I said, it could go either way. I know you feel like it's going downhill, but if things end up being wrapped up nicely and the stuff that they're dropping on us in this show ends up making sense, then it'll be good. If not,
I mean, Rod, I wish I could remember all the fantasy shows we talked about on this podcast. What I enjoyed, so this is what I want to bring up. The reason why, since I think one of the last things we talked about, Wheel of Time. This is a kind of a good reference point.
Okay.
Well, Wheel of Time, what I really enjoyed about Wheel of Time that kept us on our toes was that they didn't really tell us who the chosen one was, and that was the mystery. That was like the question. One of the questions. Like that's why I was like, and of course everything was done very well, good action. But like they kind of kept us on because there was this great question of like, who is the dragon, or who was the chosen one that they needed to, figure out who it was. Okay. And so it's just like now that when I'm looking at Willow, it's like, all right, we have a chosen one that has a prophecy, or there is this sort of prophecy that needs to be fulfilled. And I just wish it was given to us in a better dialogue, maybe more comedy, because the comedy is the show's saving grace for me.
Okay.
So it's like it could do a better job. But then they saved it at the end when she falls asleep after training. Well,
that didn't look very comfortable at all.
What'd you say?
That didn't look very comfortable. She just kind of slumped over in this mound of grass.
Goodness. But yeah, she wakes up, and she's like, gives it one more last go in the middle of the morning. And then our boy shows up and just wham in mid-spell. And I'm like, jeez, he clocked her. He knocked her.
Comes up, one hit a quitter, knock her out real quick. And she screamed it. Like, I guess
scream the spell and bow.
Like nobody else heard her scream the spell but him. Like, because they're creeping. We don't know how far she went away from camp, but it wasn't too far because Graydon walked over to where she was.
That too.
And spoke to her before he was like, all right, I'll leave you to it then. And he goes off to bed. Yeah, she wakes up slumped over because she was sitting there like on her knees when she was trying to do the spell. And then you just see her slumped over where I guess she just kept saying the words until she fell asleep in that position. Right. That wasn't hurting. You fall over to sleep like that. So she's just sitting there by herself by this little mound where she buried some more of these seeds. Wakes up, screams. I guess that's her feeling. Remember in the first movie, Willow, you must feel the words.
You gotta put your soul into it. Yeah, she had to feel those words and believe it.
She feels the words, says the spell, and nothing happens. She screams and punches the ground. And then next thing you know, my boy just, gives her that one hitter quitter, bow, knocked her out, and
boom, sleeps. Played that 5 times. I played that back 5 times. The editing on that was exceptional. I was like, they timed that very well. I was shocked when that happened.
I wasn't expecting that.
Part. Now that brought me back in. I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting him to clock her like that. All right, well, all right, get her up. We got to go get her back now. It's clearly what's going to happen next up. We got to get Laura back.
Yeah,
but
we glossed over how they talk about, they explained why she has blonde hair.
Didn't they say she did? Was it to die?
Yeah, and lemon juice and Beetle's blood. Some concoction they made up with, I guess, was a hair dye that changed her hair from red to the blonde that we see. I'm like, really? Yeah, but in the premonition that we see with Willow, finally at the end, when we see the actual finishing of the premonition, every time he has the dream, she's dead. But I think when we see that, she has red hair. She's laying there.
Mm-hmm. I did beat that.
Yeah, so that's the thing that he's struggling with. He doesn't know whether they win or lose, or whether she has to die in order for them to win. So I think he's struggling with that. So I think that's the only, you alluded to the mystery we had from Wheel of Time. This may be the mystery we're given in this show is Willow ultimately bringing Laura to her ultimate doom in order to win, or is he seeing what actually happens is they lose and Laura gets killed? So we don't know what the outcome of
that's right. You don't know. And that's one of, like you said, that's one of those things, those questions that that will keep me interested, because that's when I feel like that's when there's like more stakes for me, where it's like, okay, now we got something we're playing with here. Like the main character has to die, may have to die. Okay, let's see if Disney's gonna do it. I don't know, probably not, but
probably not.
Probably they're not gonna tell Laura.
But they may do there are many possible outcomes, and what you saw is just one of them.
Oh yes.
You don't see what actually happens. That's just a possibility. It depends on your actions and how well you do whatever choices you make between now can change that outcome between here and now, which is always will be a cop out. But we'll see what ends up happening. But there wasn't too much. There wasn't, aside from Laura getting knocked out at the end. There wasn't.
She got her powers. Remember,
she got her powers. We do see. Yeah, she leaves, and the plant sprouts out and grows a bunch of limbs right there. So I guess in the next episode, the beginning, everybody wakes up, sees this plant's there, but of course Laura's gone. I wonder how they're going to devise a way to follow her. Like, how they're going to know where they're going. I wonder if this is when the brownies come back in.
The brownies like, we saw her go that way. I'm like, where y'all been at? Y'all saw the whole thing go there and do nothing? We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see how they pull this off. We're only getting 8 episodes, I think, of this show.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna check.
Not sure. I think there's
it's probably gonna be 8. It's gotta be 8 or 10.
Yeah. On IMDb, it's got a 5.2 out of 10 rating right now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all.
People aren't feeling it. Like it's okay for me so far. I'm not overly happy with it. This show didn't have any act. This episode had like very little action. Like I said, aside from this is all plot and exposition, basically things being explained and the world kind of being reintroduced, and us seeing what became of some of the other characters that we saw from the film. Hopefully they pick things up. Maybe that's why it dragged for you.
Oh yeah, I mean that contributes to that. There was not a lot of action, or even like there was set up for plot. But could have. I keep saying it could have been told better. But yeah, there was not enough action to at least give us that kind of balance of in contrast to keep that interest.
Well, let's hope they pick it up. I would say next week, but we're like a episode or 2 behind. We didn't start talking about the show as it released, so I think there's actually episode 4 may be out. Right now, but we've only watched the 2, so we'll be watching and talk about episode 3 next week to see how they end up getting the Laura back, what's up with Valentine, and how if Sorsha and Willow were ever reconciled, because they haven't spoke yet, have they directly so far? They
haven't seen each other since those flashbacks.
Yeah, just the flashbacks when she told him he wasn't nothing. He wasn't get up out of here. with your pig hiding trick. We don't need that. It's not gonna do nothing. So we'll see. Thank you once again for taking time out of your day to chop it up with me. Hopefully we'll have Andrea back next week.
We miss you, Andrea.
Yeah. Janelle, thank you for taking the time out of your day. And we have one more viewer, but they haven't commented, so I don't know who that is. But I thank you for taking the time out of your day. You can check out the audio once it's uploaded on Anchor. It'll be distributed to Spotify, Google, and iTunes, and all the other places that podcasts are seen. And we will talk to you all next week.
Peace.